sometimes that repeating pattern or thought in your head or emotion or conflict or bad luck is not you. It is a parasite that's clinging to you, that's putting all those thoughts in your head, that's lowering your vibration, that is feasting on your energy, and you can clear it out. And today's guest, Herman Petrick, is here. He is an internationally renowned energy healer and spiritual guide with well over a decade of experience in helping people clear negative energies and close dark portals and get better sleep. So join us to find out more.
Soul Nectar Show, the Soul Nectar Show. You're invited, delighted to discover who you are. Anything is possible if you believe. So join us on this beautiful journey. Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show. That show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is greater than us, to the big mystery beyond the veil, to those synchronistic moments that lead us inexorably to a deeper understanding of ourselves and what we are doing here on planet Earth. And I'm your host, Kerri Hummingbird, and I love having these conversations week after week, connecting with old souls and friends and having deep spiritual conversations about this experience of being human on the planet. And today we're going to be talking about the darker side of things and, about entities and parasites and how do you know that they're present and they're interfering with your emotions and your thoughts, and also like about self-taught, being self-taught. Rather than having like a mentor or a apprenticeship with somebody who's already got that wisdom or knows something about it. So what are the pros and cons? What are the benefits of being trained by someone versus teaching yourself, and how does that work? And Herman has been generously willing to share your amazing experiences with us of being self-taught and all the some experiences that you had in sharing with us what that was like, and also maybe giving some tips and tricks to the audience to detect, like, when do you know that you have this going on? And so, yes, welcome Herman to the show. This is Herman Petrick, and he's an internationally renowned energy healer and spiritual guide with well over a decade of experience in holistic wellness and transformation. He's originally from Portland, Oregon, where he honed his abilities in energy healing while residing in New Zealand now. He's where he is now. And that's amazing. I love New Zealand. What a beautiful, I want to go there so bad. Every time I see pictures, I'm like, New Zealand is calling me. Beautiful shamanic wisdom, deep shamanic roots and wisdom in New Zealand. And Herman has actually been working with developing techniques for clearing negative energies and closing dark portals and channeling healing frequencies to promote harmony and positivity. And so, yeah, he does remote energy healings and clearings and for individuals and properties and for all kinds of issues that you might be feeling in your life. And so, yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show and have this conversation. This topic has come up several times recently. So I think it's a timely topic. How do we move through this? So welcome to the show, Herman, and tell us a little bit about yourself and why did you choose to start learning about, energy healing and clearing entities? And I'm sure it wasn't just like a random thought. There was probably something you were facing, but tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for the introduction and having me on your show. I really appreciate it. So I did, this work wasn't something that I thought, I'm going to do this work. It chose me more than I chose it. Now, I've always just been in the corporate world. It's been about 15 years now. I was in my early 40s, and just, I just, something started happening within me. I started to have more of like a sense of knowing. And it all started with a friend of mine's home. She was living in this home that had all these crazy energies. And the first time I visited the house, she was telling me about all the problems she has and that they brought in different priests to clear the home and bless it, and nothing was working. And her family wouldn't even come visit because it was just crazy energies. And just a light bulb went off in my head when I was in there, and I just kind of walked around and told whatever's there it needed to leave briefly. And then a couple weeks later, I called her and was like, "Hey, how's your home?" And she's like, "It's weird. Ever since you left, I haven't had any problems." And so I was like, "Oh, it worked." And so then that gave me a little inspiration. So I, started to read up on like different that like demonology, the different types of energies. There's so much information out there. It's almost information overload. And I read some old texts from centuries ago about just different types of exorcisms and all of the scary type stuff. And the interesting thing is there was absolutely zero fear for me in this subject. And so it was just like meant to be. And so I was telling some friends, we're having a glass of wine on the front porch, and I was like telling, hey, I can help, people with sleeping issues because this person wasn't sleeping. And, and after I did that, cleared the home, she started sleeping really well. I'm like, I can help sleeping. And they basically called me a crazy yank. And I said, let's test it. I'm sure you know someone. And they said, oh, yeah, our daughter. She's 24 years old. She lives in Perth, Australia. Ever since she was 14, so for 10 years, she's had nightmares and she sleepwalks and she gets like 3 to 5 hours a night. And I said, okay, I'm going to do the work, but I don't want you to tell her because you're going to tell me it's a placebo effect and I don't want to hear any of that. And they're like, you don't need a picture. I'm like, nope, I just need her first name. It's all done through the power of my intention. I did the work for her, and then they were just shocked. They're like, a couple weeks later, I'm talking to them. They're like, oh my goodness, she's sleeping. She's getting 8 to 10 hours a night. She's a completely different person. No more nightmares. And the mother was in her 60s. And I was like, how about you? And she's like, I knew you did it for me because I've been sleeping amazing. For 20 years, I've been on sleeping pills and I haven't taken them in the last 2 weeks and I've been sleeping great. And so I was like, okay, who's the crazy yank now? And so then I was just like, I can do this. And then they were telling some friends, and then these parents started calling me, oh, my 5-year-old is having nightmares. He won't sleep in his own room. And I'm like, okay. And then I fix it instantly. And then I just kept getting calls. So I created a website. It's the same website I have today. And I've just been able to work with a lot of people, but there was no instruction manual. So everything I was doing was like, some of this stuff it's crazy because I would clear the energy and it's all just through my intention, but then something would come into my space or try to attach to me. So I'm like clearing this stuff, but where does it go when you remove it from someone? Energy doesn't die. It's energy. It just needs to be transmuted. And that was the learning curve for me, is what do I do with this stuff? And so looking back, it's a little dangerous, being like a rookie
A
doing
little
this
bit
stuff without
cavalier.
support. Yeah, yeah. And so, because then I'm like, people are serious. I'm getting emails and people are dealing with like curses and hexes and black magic and spells and from all parts of the world. And I'm getting in way over my head. And I'm, oh yeah, I can fix this. I can fix that. And I'm just rapid firing, and it worked. It all worked out great. But it took a few years for me to hone it and get a little better and better and better. But yeah, and I've avoided reading too much on the topic of energy clearing and the energies because we gain these belief systems, and I didn't want to start falling into this with blinders, this mode of this is the only way. And so by just really tapping into my internal self, I feel like all the answers I need will come from here. I just have to connect. And that's what I focused myself on, is just connecting to my true self, knowing that the answers will just come to me. And that's how I was able to create the work I'm doing and just trust my process of internalizing, who I am and what I'm doing. And that's where I'm at.
So now you have a website. Do you also teach people how to do this, like for
Yeah,
themselves?
so I was doing traveling a little bit and doing like these workshops. They're like 4 or 5 hours, and I call them energy workshops, where I talked about the energies of the body, the energies around us, how they affect us, and all of this. And then I talked about exactly how I do my work. Now, I've tried to teach it, and it just simply hasn't really worked. Because the way I do it, I think it's more like you can either do it or you can't. It's a gift, and sometimes you can't teach gifts, but maybe you can. I don't know, but I struggled teaching it, so I tell people if they want to learn it, I'll explain everything that I do because I want everyone to be able to help themselves. But just the effectiveness of what they're doing didn't seem to be working so much. And so how I work is I basically have the gift is I can connect with anyone from anywhere just based on my intention. You can tell me you have a brother's that has a girlfriend that's really struggling. I don't even need to know her name, but just by me connecting with you using my intention, I can connect with that person and work on their energy and get them into a better space. And so it's about being able to connect to who I am and then, focusing my intention on the subject that I'm working on. And then once I make that connection, then I just, I have like a command, or I basically just, I have to be in a good space internally. And then I just focus my attention on that person with my intention of removing what's there, what I call energetic parasites. And then once I remove the parasites from them and their space, because they're like parasites, if you have some, your home does, and vice versa. Then once I remove all of that, then I send a little healing. And the healing, there's usually about 8 to a dozen different things. So that, like I remove energetic blocks, I cut soul ties, I cut cord connections, I remove thought programs. So there's just a bunch of little things that I do, and it's all done through the power of my intention. And a lot of people, and I don't schedule it with the people. So when I'm working on someone, they don't even know that it's happening. And I do that really by design. So they'll usually the next day start feeling better. Some people will feel it instantly. Like I've gotten a text message when I worked on someone, like I did the command and then I get a text, oh, I felt it come right out of my back. But the work is just, it's all through my intentions. It's very intentional on what I'm doing, and the people don't participate. So that's
So do
kind of,
you work with people, like, do people have to give permission, for you check that you have permission to work on them before you do it?
yeah, that's a good question. And I've had people ask that because a lot of times I work on family, so the mother would pay for my service, and I have what I call my family package. I have an individual package and a family package, and they're essentially the same price. It's like $30 more for the family because it's important. Like if you're removing fleas from the house, you have to flea bomb everything and get rid of fleas off of everyone. So, but from a permission standpoint, it's done more from like my higher self to them. So I connect on a soul level. And I've been doing this for about 15 years, and I've worked with thousands of people, and maybe 2 times in 15 years, I was like, I can't, I'm not working with that person because it's something that their soul wanted to go through. But that's 2 times out of thousands. So it's a very small percentage. But let me just give you a quick example. If you and I are walking and I see a mosquito on your back, just gonna flick the mosquito off your back. I'm not gonna say, hey, can I get rid of this mosquito here for you? And then you're gonna not respond and say, I wonder why that mosquito's there. What kind of mosquito is it? How long has that mosquito do there? What is it doing? Why is that mosquito on me? It's a parasite. A parasite does what a parasite does. So do I need permission to wave that mosquito off of your back? I mean, maybe. But I've been pretty successful for the last 15 years, and working. A lot of people I work on don't know that I'm working on them till after the fact. And then they just start feeling better. And sometimes I like it that way because I don't want people to think, oh, it's just in my head. I'm feeling better, and like if it's a family, the mother usually can feel the difference or see the difference in the kids or the husband or whoever's around them. So.
So
Yeah,
basically
that's how it
you're
works.
you're working at a soul level, not a personality level.
Correct. And the personalities don't matter to me. Everything is very black and white. we are an energy. Let's call ourselves an organic being. Anything that's outside of our energy field that attaches to us is an inorganic being. And so I simply remove everything that's attached to the person and then hit the reset button, essentially, like restarting your computer when it starts to run sluggish. And so I don't care what the person looks like, who they are, what they do, what they practice. Now, when I do my work, I try to keep track of them energetically the first week or two because sometimes it's a little up and down because a lot of old emotions are coming out and stuff. And so I do pay attention. And every once in a while, I'll see a pattern where the person will pick something up every day or every other day. And then I'm like, when I talk to them, I'm like, okay, there's something going on in your environment we got to fix because you keep attracting these energies keep coming to you. They're different ones, but so it's usually an environmental issue. And the interesting thing, you can say I'm kind of a dot connector with my work because there wasn't a manual. I keep a like an Excel spreadsheet and I kind of was keeping track of who's what and so I started seeing these patterns. Like I would work on a family, let's say of six, and one person in the family every day I have to clear them. And then I would talk to the mom and I'd be like, what's going on with so and so? Are they on any sort of meds? Oh, yeah, she's on antidepressant. And I'm like, then the light bulb goes off. It's like, so we're taking these medicines that are dumbing down our energy. And when our energy is dumbed down, it's easy for us to absorb stuff from our environment. So I started seeing this very clear picture of what um, excessive alcohol does, prescription medications, narcotics, anything like that that's dumbing down our energy. We're attracting more of these inorganic beings or these energetic parasites, as I call them. And so I that's how I kind of learned is just seeing different patterns with people. But then I don't want to be the one saying, get off your meds, go talk to your doctor about lowering the dosage because those meds are never meant to be a lifetime. They're just meant to help people get through things, but they end up being for years and years. And when that stops working, they up the dose or they switch brands, and it's just destroying us energetically when we're taking these medicines. And to me, that was the biggest takeaway that I learned was like, holy smokes, the medicines are messing with us. Even the foods we eat, some of the chemicals in the foods we eat and stuff, it's like it's almost like there's some sort of design to keep us so disconnected from who we are. But that's just the dots I've been connecting over the years with these energetic parasites.
What do you notice about like have you worked with anybody that had like um diagnosed, like let's say like
Schizophrenia or
schizoaffective?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. And I'm here to say that probably 98% of the people in our psychiatric hospitals or in that mental illness system are the healers of the world that have just been drugged. It's to me, it's that simple. But I have worked with people. Some of the really hard ones are like bipolar is a tough one. But people with schizophrenia and stuff, I've worked with a lot of them, and it's certainly helped. But the problem that I run into is they become so dependent on the drugs, the narcotics, and it's not okay for me to say stop that. I mean, I would usually say talk to your doctor, but I need to be able to help people through their mental illness without the distortion of the drugs. And I can give a very quick example on that. I was working with a child that was suffering from Tourette's. And I don't know if you guys know if you know much about Tourette's, but it's pretty awful, especially for a small child. And it typically starts to come on around 5, 6 years old. They start something in their throat, and then it slowly manifests into tics and then outbursts of like swearing like a sailor. Anyway, I saw this girl on a TV show in New Zealand. It was some special about Tourette's, and the mother was talking, and I saw the girl, and I'm like, this is an energetic issue. And I reached out, I found the details, reached out and said, hey, I I saw the show. I want to work with your daughter, no charge. I just want to see, I feel like I can help her with her situation. And the mother's like, okay, yeah. And the mother she was like the president of the Tourette Society for New Zealand, so highly involved. And they have medicines for this, but the medicines don't fix the issue. They just kind of slow down the ticks. But this girl was having these crazy outbursts. And so I said, okay, I'm going to work with her for 2 weeks. And all I want is your feedback. Okay. And what I noticed was I would clear her and then I would have to clear again in the evening. Every twice a day, I was clearing this girl. And then after a week, I talked to the mom, I'm like, how is she doing? And she's like, so much better. Like we finally got her meds balanced. And I'm like, nothing to do with me working on her energetically the last week. And I'm like, how does she sleep at night? And she's like, oh, she sleeps amazing because we knock her out with these drugs. And that's when a light bulb went off. And I'm like, because I have to clear her every night and every morning. And it's these drugs. And anyway, after about 3, 4 weeks, her ticks were slowing down and her outbursts were almost non-existent. And then I talked to the mom again, and the mom didn't want to hear anything I had to say. And so I was like, okay, I can't help this child because the mother doesn't want to listen to me. Her her life purpose is running this Tourette's program, and let's, coddle these people with this instead of finding a cure. And anyway, so I stopped, which I hated doing, and I followed them on social media. And then about a month later, I saw a post where, oh, she has a new tick where she can't have sharp objects because if she has a sharp object, she stabs herself in the forehead. That's her new tick. And it's like, that's not a tick. That's like a possession issue. But people don't want to hear this. They want to just rely on the medicines of the world. And so the frustrating part for me is working with people with mental illness is they're not really open to the holistic side so much because they've just been so brainwashed into they're broken and they need drugs to fix their issue. When I'm here to say that drugs are the biggest part of the issue.
Ah, that is such a powerful message. And, I definitely can relate. I had, at one point was diagnosed bipolar. Another time was diagnosed borderline. This is before I started my path, to do this work. And I was on medication as the only way to, kind of keep it
Level it
stable,
out.
right? Like
Yeah.
level it out. Yeah. But I finally was suicidal, right? Because that's what it does is it'll bring you to a place of so much disconnection within yourself that you don't want to live anymore, and
Mhm.
then of course, yeah, you're being messed with and monkeyed with by I was having nightmares, all kinds of crazy things going on in my
Mhm.
dreams, and yeah, and it was perverted. It was very strange. So I
Mhm.
finally said, I can't go on like this. So I walked away from that. And within a year I was off the meds too. I stopped the psychotherapy. And I had to rewire my identity to not be that too, because it was like a comfortable little zone,
Yeah. Oh, I'm
to like
bipolar.
define
I have an
yourself that
excuse.
way. Like that's why, yeah, I have an excuse. That's why I'm the way I am. You can't blame me because I have this.
Mhm.
And you're the bad person if you're mad at me for like having a diagnosis and behaving badly, so it's like a Darvo kind of thing. So
Mhm.
I was like, um, so that's Darvo deny, reverse, victim, offender. Yeah. So I was
Mhm.
I was always reactive and acting out because I was in pain, but then using my diagnosis as a justification, right, for why I was doing that. And so finally I said, well, this isn't working. This is a dead end. I'm a smart person. That's not going to work for me. I don't want to live the rest of my life this way. And I don't want to be on
Mhm.
medication the rest of my life. And I don't want to have this diagnosis anymore. So it took a while to rewire that though. Like, once you have like this idea, this label, this identification, it's like
How do
easy
you
cash.
shake it?
How do you get, yeah, because now you have to be completely accountable. You have to show up and be responsible for your behavior and your emotions and your words and everything else. It's not easy to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's a powerful story in itself that you've overcome that. Like that's a pretty big deal because out of all of the mental illnesses people that I've worked with, I would say bipolar is one I struggle with that one more than anything else. But again, it has a lot to do with the medications and getting people off the medications. But it's a hard one because
Yeah.
like
Yeah. It's
one
not.
minute you'll be happy with me, and then the next minute you'll be telling me I'm the spawn of the devil or whatever. So,
I never got that extreme with it, but it definitely passes down the family line. My son struggles with some stuff right now, but it's I did find that a lot of it had to do with this entity attachments and parasites that were like attached to my energy field and causing this. So when
Hmm.
I actually went to my training, I went the path, you guys. So Herman went the path of teaching himself and being guided by his, his inner voice, right? And I went the path of like, I'm going to go to the master teachers and you tell me how to do it.
Yeah,
I felt more comfortable with that, right? So
that's a good way. That's a great
I
way.
mean, it was, helpful for me. So I learned so much from Alberto Vialdo, who's the Four Winds Life Body School, and he has entire segments of the curriculum devoted to how to clear parasites and demon attachments and all this kind of stuff. And he actually
Hmm.
has like bishops and Catholic people like go to him for training on how to, release
Hmm.
entities, because there's like conscious entities. There's
Hmm.
parasites which are not conscious, right? Like they're just parasites, like you said, they're a mosquito, and you just. Phew. But then there's ones that are conscious, and
Yeah.
they come into they hide out in your psychology, and you think that that's you because they get in early when you're like
Yeah,
a
well,
little kid through trauma.
some of them get in right at birth. There's a specific type that's right at birth, and it targets people that are here to make that impact. So yeah, it sounds like you had some good training. I on the bishop side and stuff,
Lived
I
experiences
had a
too.
I had a client that was a head exorcist for the Catholic Church in a certain region in Canada reach out to me, and I'm like, "Why are you calling me?"
Yeah,
And
you're supposed to be the one that said do exorcism.
he's like, "Oh, I did this exorcism for this family, and whatever I exercised stuck to me, and we simply can't get it off. So I need your help." And I'm like, "Okay." I thought it felt good to help people that
Some
are
of these
really out in the
energies,
front lines.
they're like ancient, and they do travel down family lines. And when I tracked this one energy, I mean, there were so many energies, but there was one that we tracked all the way back to like Scotland in the Highlands, like with my ancestors and some dark demonic fucking thing that got attached to my ancestry and, caused all this trauma and chaos in their family system and just like came all the way down to like today.
All
I
the
mean,
way
that's
through.
like 700 years, It's
And
like,
yeah, and it's probably longer than that. That's as
yeah.
far back as you can trace. When I first started doing this, I was really paying attention to what kind and where it's from, and then I realized I don't need to do that. They're parasites. I just classify them all as energetic parasites, and when I do my work, I don't care where they're from or whatever. They just have to disappear, so to speak. And so because you start getting into that mode of tracking them and tracing them, and then it starts to consume you, and you're giving them too much power by knowing too much about them, in my opinion. So when I do my work, it's
Mhm.
like I don't even care what they are. And a lot of people, my clients want to know, and it's like we don't need to know. It's a parasite. It's gone. All you need to know is it's not affecting you anymore. But some people really want the details of it. And I'm not that guy. And I'm not that guy by design because I don't think it's useful for anybody. But it is kind of interesting to see the lineage and how it's affected families. Like my family, my parents are amazing people and they came from very broken homes and just a long line of broken homes, but they made a shift and they found that through Christianity helped them get out of that. So there's people work their ways out. There's not one way to do it. There's multiple ways, but the you talking about the lineage is interesting because it is a real thing. Like it goes down. The one energy that there's one energy I do talk about. It's called the fallen angel energy. But what it does is it always attaches at birth, but it almost always goes down the female side of the family. So if you have sisters, a mom, daughters, they're going to have it almost guaranteed. And it's like this lineage of this energy, and it attaches to keep you disconnected, to keep you disempowered, so you can't make the impact you're here to make. And I'm pretty sure you were dealing with one of those from day
Probably.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
was
so,
nasty.
yeah, and so
I
what
was
it
teamed
does
up
is
on. There was like several of them teaming up. And
yeah,
so
so
that's
it
what they did
starts
at
with
the Four Winds. They cleared it. And there was like, I had a master healer teacher, like basically fighting for me with those things to get them off of me and break whatever curse contract was in place.
Y-
Yeah.
Well, it starts at birth for a couple reasons. The first reason, by doing so, it can remain hidden. Most people don't recognize it or even know it exists. It's very subtle. But the main reason is to keep you disconnected. And how it does that is it creates this internal battle. And as you're having this internal battle as a small child, it's wearing you down energetically. And then you start picking up more and more, like you said, it's like masses of them. It's not the, it starts with the one, it wears you down and opens the door for all these others. And then by the time you're early adolescence, you have all this anxiety and this fear. And because they're manipulating your thoughts and your emotions, and you don't really realize that. And so you're having all these dark thoughts and these crazy emotions, and then you go get on medications, and then you're labeled bipolar or whatever it may be. And then you go down this path of, oh, I'm bipolar. Let me take these medicines. And then there's a healer that's meant to be making this massive impact that is dumbed down by the medicines. That's how it works. But there's people out there like you that are breaking that mold and making that impact. You're an overcomer, and you
Yeah,
can
I'm a
be an
survivor of
overcomer.
entities and demons.
Yeah, yeah. And
Woohoo!
so a lot of people do overcome, but we're at a disadvantage. And so my job is to work with those people that are at that disadvantage because they're attracted to me, and I help them through that so that they get reconnected. And then once they're reconnected, they become these amazing people that are just impacting everyone around them. That's how I measure someone's success is, okay, what's the impact you're making on the people around you, right? And so if you're being destroyed internally by these parasites, you can't make an impact because you can't even impact yourself. And so it's about freeing yourself, reconnecting, and then going. So,
Yeah, and you can't really, I mean, it's kind of like you're going to attract more situations to tear yourself down when you're in that mode. That's what I noticed. Like I attracted a relationship that was very challenging, very critical. I already had critical naysaying thoughts in my mind, all the time. So like I attracted a relationship that gave me more of that, right? So it's just like tearing you down even more. It's like by the end of
it's
that,
a vicious cycle.
I couldn't even make eggs right. It was like, you don't know how to cook eggs. I was like, I don't know how to cook eggs. I mean, okay, I'm really worthless. That's thank you. So but that was the end of that. And I was like, this is going nowhere good. I mean, this is a Ivy League educated person. I'm like smart. So I said, okay, that has to go. I had to leave the nest of the vipers and I need to start, go off on my path. And I feel like these experiences, though, I do feel like if you are meant to be a medicine person, like a healer, I do think it's like a really good way to learn about all these things, through your direct experience. And then it also
Oh, yeah, for
does
sure.
strengthen you. I mean, it made me strong and wise. And now when I have Jaguar on my side. I think I told you because in the the initiations from the Four Winds, you get Jaguar as one of the seeds. And so when I went down to the jungle like a couple times ago, the brother of the medicine person we work with, he was like, "You're like a grupo puma, like you have puma all over the place." I'm like, "That's right. I'm never gonna let that happen to myself again. Thank you. You come at me, you're gonna get eaten. You're gonna get eaten by puma." So
You're no longer the prey, you're the stalker now.
I'm the stalker. Exactly. I stalk those energies and I'm like, is there anything messing with me right now? And I go head to toe just to check it out, especially if I'm having like, if I feel a little bit whiny about things or like I want some wine or I want to, eat something extra, I'll go, oops, what's going on in here? And just head to toe scan.
Yeah, it's really important to pay attention to subtleties like that. One of the things I like to talk about is paying attention to your thoughts and your emotions and not really buying them as your own, because that's where the manipulation happens. And if you can separate yourself from your thoughts and emotions, you can you're coming more from a place in your heart versus your ego. And the heart's hard to manipulate, where the ego is very easy to manipulate. And so just because you're having a thought or an emotion, we're on autopilot. We're driven by it. But if we can separate ourselves from that, we can question, wait, why am I so grumpy? You know what I mean? Like you just said, taking stock and going, oh, there's a little parasite, and you just fix the issue. Because we're in an energetic world. We're going to pick up parasites. It's just a fact of life, but how they affect us. And if you pick something up, it may take months or years to manifest, and it builds and builds and builds and gains quantities, right? But if you clear it all and you work on yourself internally on a regular basis, you're going to feel the difference when you do pick up one and you can go, wait, something's off, and then you can sort it out. That's the best way to live.
Yeah, and I like to live in such a way as um I also don't, I'm not an aesthetic, so I'm not here to like purely walk through the world as like the most pure person ever and do nothing, only eat certain foods and I'm here to
Well, you
have
got to
some
live your life. Got to live
fun,
your life.
so I'm here to enjoy myself. Plus I'm here to be ecstatic and all of these things. I'm supposed to be delighted by life, right? And so we want to also let ourselves do that. And
Mhm.
if we get really good at energetic maintenance and we can, like you said, we have pay attention to the nuances, we can clear that out, with a daily practice, and you can still live your life and have a good time. So I love this conversation. This was great. Thank you for going so deep in all that. Yeah, it's good for people to know about these things and to realize that it is part of the experience on Earth. It is intentional. And, when you get done letting them monkey with you, then it's time to claim your sovereignty and say no more, right? Like,
Yes.
done with that.
For
Excellent.
sure.
All right. Well, so you have a website, globalenergyclearing.com, and you actually offer a free 15-minute consultation for anybody that wants to work with you, which is really very kind of you to give your
Hmm.
time like that. What else do you want to share with people about working with you before we head out the door?
I think just if someone is interested, having a conversation is very worthwhile. Um, if you want to work with me but don't want to have a conversation, that's perfectly fine. I do like to talk to people after more than I like to talk to before because I don't really need the details of what's going on in the beginning because I'm just looking at it from a sheer remove these parasites, hit the reset. And it's kind of a broad stroke. And then if we talk like a week or 2 weeks after I've done the work, if there's some very specific stuff, then I can focus on the very specifics if they weren't covered in the initial, clearing and healing. So but that offer stands for a free consultation. I can just explain. It's good to explain what the process is so they have an understanding. But yeah, my website, globalenergyclearing.com. Just contact me through my contact page and be happy to have a conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all that great wisdom and through your lived experience. And yeah, I was glad to be able to share a little bit of my story too, because I don't think a lot of people know about that stuff. I just don't talk about it.
Very interesting. I'm glad you shared that with me. You're definitely an overcomer because that's a big one.
I'm a marathon runner. I've run 2 marathons and 13 or 14 half marathons.
Now
I
that
don't quit.
might there might be some madness in you after all if you're running marathons. So I don't understand
Not
why someone wants
anymore.
to do that.
I broke my kneecap. No more marathons for me, but who knows? I might
Okay.
try for a half marathon still.
Oh, there you go.
We'll
There you
see if I
go.
walk it. Okay. So here, I just want to invite everyone, share this episode out with anybody that you think, might be interested in what we're talked about today and might be curious about it. And yeah, reach out to Herman if you think like you want to see if there's something going on for you that you can be cleared of. And yeah, and if you want to learn how to be a medicine person, come see me because I do teach people how to do that. So that's cool. That's what inner medicine also leads to. It's being a medicine person and clearing those suckers out. And yeah, so here comes kisses. I always end the show with kisses. Herman, if you want to join me, you can, but they're just Reiki kisses. Here they come, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for commenting and sharing. Here come your kisses. Mwah. Love you so much and so grateful for all of you. So we'll see you next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now. If you found even one gold nugget in this episode of Soul Nectar Show, will you do us a favor? Will you subscribe, like, and share this episode? Maybe even write a comment and let us know what you thought about it. We really, really want to engage with you at a much deeper level. Let's be part of community together. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.
Soul Nectar Show. Awaken awaits you. Show. Take a sip from the drip of nectar from the source of who you are.